Oire, urave, yore. Hi guys, welcome to another episode on the r/Reddit Kollywood podcast. Today we'll be diving into the Vinveli Nayagan himself, Kamal Haasan. The Thug Life trailer just recently came out, so we'll be diving into our thoughts and expectations about that. Vikram's third year anniversary is also here, so we'll be diving into what we thought made that movie successful and why it's still much talked about today. And then wrapping up with Kamal's recent journey post Vishwarubam and what are our thoughts about him in his new kind of action avatar, diving into all these new projects with heavy action. So, yeah, let's dive in. Today I'm on the pod. I'm joined by JK Bro, Jax Bro, and Siege Bro, and then the man himself, Dot Bro. Hi, guys.
எனக்கு மட்டும் ஒரு
Yeah,
தனியா ஒரு
same
ஹைப்
here.
கொடுத்தாரு.
நீங்க லெஜெண்ட் ப்ரோ, நீங்க லெஜெண்ட்.
நீங்க தாங்க
Legend bro.
கான்ஸ்டன்ட். நாங்கெல்லாம் வரோம்
ஆமா.
போவோம். இனிமே இங்க நீங்க தான் ரங்கராய சக்தி.
ஓஜி தக் இவர்தான்.
So yeah, nice to be here. Nice to be talking to all of you after so long.
Nice. The Thug Life trailer recent on this. What did you guys think?
So yeah, I mean, for me, the last 2 weeks, like honestly, na Thug Life kulla when I was walking in, like I didn't have a very positive vibe with Thug Life for the last. In between with Sugar Baby, the name and all that, then the influencer meetup and all that. So எனக்கு கொஞ்சம் I was like little like first day first show போணுமாங்கிற அளவுக்கு யோசிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டேன். But after the audio launch happened and the audio released, and now I have like enough reason to just go and watch Thug Life because I just want to go and watch Vinveli Nayagan on the screen, and I'm pretty sure Kamal Haasan and Mani Ratnam are capable enough of putting that song in a really good space in the movie where everything, where all these like would come together. If they're gonna mess that up, Manipe kadayadu kandipa, but I hope they will do it. I kind of trust them because they're like the biggest names from Kollywood. So yeah, but I'm really excited for my Wednesday show now.
Yeah, Amma, no, I agree with you that the whole expectation around the Thugfluencers, I was cringing so hard as both. I was like, what the hell are these guys doing? But yeah, the Sugar Baby and stuff kind of killed my hype. Apart from that, I mean, album wise, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Omara song and Vinveli Nayagan, but apart from that, எனக்கு அவ்வளோ பெருசா ஒன்றும் தோணல அந்த ஆல்பம்ல. The trailer was good. I like the trailer, but yeah, Mama will. I'm just going to go into this with
You
zero
heard about the
expectations.
slow poison of A.R. Rahman, right? So just give yourself
அஞ்சு வண்ண பூவே. ஆமா.
Oh yeah, shit, yeah, man. That song was also amazing.
The reprise one. ஆமா.
Yeah, the reprise version. Yeah. But yeah, what about you, Dot Bro? I mean, JK Bro.
Yeah, same, pretty similar vibe to what you guys already shared. Every single thing shared right around the trailer's release gave me no sort of hope whatsoever that this is gonna be live up to the hype or even set the benchmark. I mean, Nayagan is the mother of all benchmarks to meet in Kollywood, but I was like, that was my initial hype, and then Sugar Baby and the Thugfluencers meet and all came, and I'm like, why are they trying so hard? Like, that was my question. Like, எந்த டெமோகிராஃபிக் அப்பீல் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு இவங்க இவ்வளவு மண்டி போட்டு உட்காந்துருக்காங்க நான் பார்க்க ஆரம்பிச்சேன். But then the trailer came along, and as with most Mani Ratnam trailers, it's pretty well cut and it's pretty technically sound. So yeah, that gave me a good sliver of hope. And of course, the audio launch was spectacular, and it's almost always the case. Like even in lesser renowned Mani Ratnam projects, like say a Kaatru Veliyide or something, the songs are always memorable. Like Periyabai, as he doesn't like to be called anymore, always does like super heavy lifting in these movies. Like if there are people who will go to these movies just to hear his songs. Like இப்போ நான் இந்த படத்துலயே எடுத்தீங்கன்னா நம்ம சொல்றோம்ல விண்வெளி நாயகா எப்படி பிக்சரைஸ் பண்ணிருப்பாங்க அண்ட் அஞ்சு ஒண்ணு போய் அண்ட் ஆல் தோஸ் சாங்ஸ். Yeah, so there's that level of excitement that's there because maybe curiosity ne sollam. So yeah, I'm definitely curious, but since I live in Bangalore, I don't know if I'll be catching it FDFS, but yeah, let's see. I'm cautiously optimistic still with a tinge of positivity about this film.
Like what I wrote about yesterday, like when was the last time people have been talking about an audio launch for an entire week, right? There are like so
Yeah.
many things happening in one single event that people like we can't just stop talking about it.
So what did you think, Seas, bro?
See, எனக்கு admittedly the trailer வந்து overall it was good. I mean, like JK சொன்ன மாதிரி it was cut well. I wasn't like super, oh my god, this is like the greatest thing since sliced, but அந்த மாதிரிலாம் தோணல. One positive I really liked was the DHing was not that bad at all for Kamal and the, you know, in the scene with the small Simbu, I think, right? So அது நல்லா இருந்துச்சு. And you know, kind of ஒரு மாதிரி strange amalgamation of Nayagan and செக்கச்சிவந்த மாதிரி இருந்தது with a slightly better visual aesthetic than செக்கச்சிவந்த வானம். But I posted it in our chat, right? That last and the Vinveli Nayagan when it hits, I think that was amazing. But what caught me super off guard is when the actual track came out. Attack on Titan season 1 or opening song மாதிரி ஏதோ போட்டு வச்சிருந்தாங்க. That really caught me off guard, but in a very, very good way. And, you know, Shruti killed it both, you know, in the actual recording, but also in the performance in the audio launch. But overall, I think the trailer didn't necessarily increase my hype. I was already hyped for this film. And but I do agree all the bits around the promotions are a bit, for lack of a better word, cringe, right? So I really hope that they're not overcompensating for a subpar product with you know, excessive promotions and so on. But knowing that it's money and Kamal, I think hopefully that's not the case, and we are in for a good watch later this week.
Jax, நீங்க சொல்லுங்க.
Okay, so first I'll go with the trailer because um, I'm one of the very few that haven't still exposed myself to the album for some reason. I don't know. Trailer. So I didn't have too much expectations on this. I mean, first announcement பண்றப்போ Kamal and Maniratnam வந்து join பண்ணாங்க. I was so very hyped, and then the title teaser and all those things, it just kind of threw me off. I don't know why. Probably ரொம்ப Thug Life and that title was not very much resonating with me, and also that happened. And then trailer on the it's like, okay, maybe it's not gonna be that bad, and yeah, and just like JK said, அந்த கட்ஸ்லாம் ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்தது. And both seeing both Kamal and Simbu together was nice. We haven't seen both of them together in a screen, so அது ஒரு மாதிரி the chemistry was really good. வேற என்ன? Yeah, and of course the de-aging, of course, அது ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்தது. But still, it just felt like, as everybody said, எனக்கு ஒரு மாதிரி ஒரு சிசிவியோட extended thing, அந்த ஃபீல் தான் இருந்தது. So yeah, it didn't necessarily hype me. I'm like, okay, I'm like positive that it'll work, but I'm just very, very afraid of Kamal's words saying that I'll forget Nayagan if I watch this Thug Life. So yeah, I'm really.
Ouch.
No, I don't.
Oh no. I don't think that's even possible. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did say
I
that, I
know.
think.
I'm really
Not
scared
exactly
that
in
he
those
probably-
words, but something similar. Like, this will be better than Nayagan was the sentiment.
One more thing that gave me a positive vibe was Baddy's interview with all of them. It was really great hearing that.
That was good. Very good. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was a fun interview.
Like
Yeah.
like how like in this ஜிகர்தண்டா படத்துல அசால் சேதோட படத்தை எல்லாரையும் போய் பார்க்க சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல. So that one guy will be like in the newspaper திறந்துட்டு எங்க பார்த்தாலும் இவன் மூஞ்சிய தண்டா இருக்குன்னு தூக்கி போட்டு போவான். Wherever I go, I can't just escape from what is happening around.
Okay, so those are our thoughts on Thug Life. நீங்க என்ன நினைச்சீங்கன்னு comments சொல்லுங்க. But I think on the road to Thug Life, I think with just a few days away from release, I think it's important to look at what led us here, and Kamal's kind of is known as his comeback into modern day cinema, Vikram, and what we think Vikram did right, and why it's still so successful. Even after 3 years, people are still talking about it.
Yeah, actually, this is a very layered question, but I'll try and sum it up, as briefly as possible in the interest of time. But
Go for it.
in terms of what Vikram did right, and why I think it's seen as Kamal's comeback, and not just for him, his production house as well. I think the single best thing it did for Kamal and for the genre and why it sparked the action genre itself is that it showed us that Andavar can adapt. Like he's not still stuck in his ways. I think most people would agree that the single most refreshing thing about Vikram is, I mean, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but basically Kamal doesn't have a single line or doesn't even have that much of screen time in the entire first half of the film. But his aura is there. Like his aura is what is driving the proceedings. And then when it all comes together, it just hits so well. And I don't think most other actors other than Kamal could have done. I mean, obviously the movie is named Vikram for a reason, and Lokesh is a huge Kamal fanboy and all that. All those meta reasons are there. But like it showed us a Kamal that most of us have either wanted to see, some of us, the millennials and all, and the older guard and all, have wanted to see for a while, try something new, step out of the. We know he's capable of it. It was just a question of finding the right project and the right script and everything. We knew, but and then it just to see that happen on screen was such a magical experience. Or the reason it clicked so well with Gen Z is it also, I mean, not Gen Z in particular, but some of the younger audience, is that it catered to their sensibilities as well without laying it on too hard. Like it was still a very rooted story. I mean, it had a story, it had a proper structure. There were elements, of course, there were commercial elements that were pitched towards, great whistle-worthy moments and big high moments, but those also made sense within the universe of the LCU as well as, also the LCU factor did help. Let's not deny that. But yeah, it was just the perfect storm of things coming together. And yeah, it's quite an amazing comeback. I mean, even in terms of Kollywood's Varalar Lapatalume. So yeah, those are just some of my off the top of the head thoughts about why this is the way it is. Siege bro, what did you think?
I think the first statement you made, JK, I think that really is the sort of USP of Vikram, right? Kamal's adaptability. And also he is essentially acting in a director's film. If you look at Kamal's filmography over the last, say, 20 or 30 odd years, right? Uh, when he has surrendered either willingly or not so willingly to a director's vision wholeheartedly without him kind of interfering too much into what that film should look like, those films are actually kind of appear on the surface, okay, might not be very interesting, but they all turned out to be really good. For example, Vettayadu Vilayadu is a similar case. I mean, Anga Vande GVM Vande, he wanted to do a film, Kamal was not interested, and he just said, and in a police station, like now uniform he just went. And he was not interested in the film, but he committed himself to the process of that particular director and the story that he had. India when the Vikram is basically the same element elevated to the nth order, where Kamal kind of surrendered to Lokesh's vision, and Lokesh executed it to the T. And the other thing, now fanboy sambhavamla நம்ம சொல்றோம் நம்ம, but imagine a fanboy sambhavam where Kamal or the lead sort of actor is not there at all in the first half in any meaningful manner, does not have a single line, but he is the crux of every plot point that happens in the first half, and essentially everything that happens because of him and for him in many ways, right? அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ரைட்டிங் வந்து புல் ஆஃப் பண்ணுறது இஸ் வெரி வெரி ட்ரிக்கி. யூ கான்ட்ராஸ்ட் தட் வித் சம் அதர் say recent fanboy sambhavams like say good bad ugly is a good example, right? Anga vande every other scene is all about building up the actor and really focusing on the meta aspect of that particular actor. Inge vande Vikramla vande there's nothing of that sort. It's just focused on what happened to this Karnan character and how it builds him up every single point, eventually culminating into a proper action block going into the second half, and we know what happened. And then of course the LCU connections that helped, the fact that they set up an antagonist who also appears to be quite strong at the end, right? I think that elevated the film even further, I think, because ultimately, uh, and they seeded it quite nicely, right? And it's getting too specific, but throughout the film, we know Vijay Sethupathi is working for someone and he's freaked out about Rolex. He just keeps mentioning him Rolex, Rolex, Rolex. Now, if Rolex had not lived up to that expectation, it could have fallen off flat big time. But Lokesh, very smartly, he brings him in uh, only to the point that you need him, and that's it. And then you leave it at that. And then also the fact that he opens up Vikram into his broader LC universe, which also has other big actors, but more importantly, big characters as well, like Dilli, Amar also, and someone of Kamal's stature is willing to be part of this universe, not necessarily as the sole lead, but as a co-lead. I think all of this just made Vikram really, really very appealing in the end, right? And of course, a terrific action block and so on and so on, right? I think that also. I mean, like it or not, I mean, the second half is just one adrenaline fueled film scene after the other. Yeah, it was something, and I think in a way it's a lightning in the bottle type situation. I doubt even Kamal himself can repeat this, or even Lokesh for that matter. I think just came at the perfect time, and with all the perfect ingredients, just sticking the landing big time. That சொல்லுங்க நீங்க உங்களோட thoughts
mean,
about Vikram.
I just hope maybe you're wrong, and maybe we can do this again and again and again, and so that we keep getting movies like this. I mean, every year
Yeah,
we'll
I
be
think
appreciated.
quality வரும். Yeah. And the quality definitely will be there. I'm not doubting that, right? Like, I mean, for all his flaws or whatever, right? Kamal is one who's very unflinching when it comes to trying to achieve excellence. அதுல there's no doubt about it. But and the perfect moment in time when all of it just falls into place perfectly. I think it's one of those rare instances where it all just
Yeah.
clicked. Um, or again, I mean, being an old geezer, right? Like the sum of the parts is bigger than the whole, right? In another film that kind of I can think of analogous to this Vikram was probably Basha when it came out. Yeah, I mean we've discussed about it in our podcast as well. Why Basha works as a great film, but again, it's just that perfect timing of every single element, both in the film as well as outside the film. It just made it like the biggest thing at that point in time. And I think Vikram is something similar in that sense. The
Yeah,
moment, it's a zeitgeist moment.
it was definitely a watershed moment in Tamil cinema. Like I've been trying to like note it down. Like since Nayagan, like we are talking about Basha also. Like I was recently watching Pudupettai. I feel that was another watershed moment. Like something like that. Vikram also falls into that. Like JK is correctly mentioning, right? It was a movie which brought Tamil cinema back into the limelight again, and from there on, like with LCU and also with Nelson and Atlee kind of hitting their bullseye at the same time. Like these guys did bring Tamil cinema back into its limelight, and a point that you expanded on, like whenever Kamal Haasan is not too much involved into the filmmaking process itself and just submits himself as an actor. The movies have definitely been a lot more focused and disciplined, and they have done well. ஐ எனக்கு எனக்கு மணிரத்னம்ட்டையும் கார்த்திக் சுப்ராஜ்ட்டையும் ஒரு பிடிச்ச ரொம்ப பிடிச்ச ஒரு விஷயம் which வெற்றிமாறன் something lacks is like both of them are very dedicated to how the films are made, and they stick to a plan and release it. So I am hopeful Thug Life will fall under one of those categories, and we will get another Vikram very soon, or something even better. I hope. I'll keep my fingers crossed, but we'll wait uh, just because of whatever the Indian two was.
Jax bro, நீங்க என்ன நினைச்சீங்க? What did you think?
First up, I would like to appreciate Lokesh on connecting things with the old Vikram. I didn't think that was even going to be part of the film. Like just the title was picked out, and then he just put it. But that was really like, I was like, okay, he has done something. He has அது ஐ மீன் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஹாஃப்லேயே தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும். அந்த பிரில்லியன்ஸ் ஹாஸ் சீட், அந்த பிரில்லியன்ஸ் வந்து கமல் won't be there. கமலோடைய பிரசன்ஸ் தான் இருக்கும். he won't even have a dialogue and ஒரு மாதிரி அங்கங்க மாட்டாதெல்லாம் காமிச்சிருப்பான். பட் ஹீல் பி த crux of the movie from through and through. ஸோ அந்த பிரில்லியன்ஸோட சேர்த்து this connect was like, okay, he has done some work, and I think that's the win condition for this film. Even if it's a commercial film, even if it's so-called fanboy sambhavam, Lokesh didn't treat the audience like, he didn't take anyone granted. Every single moment, every single high moment, every single commercial, quote unquote commercial moment was done at done with a proper build up, with a proper price. And of course this LCU connect was masterfully done. And it's even brilliant because he didn't have any sort of idea of connecting things when he did Kaidi. So I'm just at awe in how everything has fallen in place. So yeah, நான் வந்து ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டே போறப்போ and of course சூர்யா அந்த கேமியோலாம் வந்து தெரியாம இருந்தா, if people didn't actually leak it, it would have been an even bigger what to say, ஒரு மேசிவ் எக்ஸ்ப்ளோஷனா தான் இருந்திருக்கும் அந்த ஃபிலிம். ஸோ யா டெஃபினெட்லி எனக்கு வந்து ஒரு லைக் ப்ராப்பர் கமர்ஷியல் ஃபிலிம். இட் வாசன்ட் லைக் மூளையை கட்டி வச்சுட்டு ஜஸ்ட் வாட்சிங் ஃபார் என்டர்டைன்மெண்ட். இட் வாசன்ட் லைக் தட். It actually had it, and ரெண்டாவது பார்க்கறப்போ தான் it actually had complex screenplay catering to each and every character, and it had three big heads, Kamal, Fahd Fazil, and Vijay Sethupathi, and those three had proper arcs for them in the same film, and they had probably, I think, equal screen time for each other, and somehow Loki masterfully pulled that off. I'm just in awe entirely.
சூர்யா ஒரு கேமியோ லீக் பண்ணவன் நல்லாவே இருக்க மாட்டான்.
Yeah, I know, right?
That would have been so much better. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He also gave comeback to Surya, if you think about it. Like, that was also his comeback.
He made it a name, nationwide.
Our 15 minutes cameo became one of his most memorable characters.
Let me ask you guys a trivia question, since all of you have seen Vikram so many times. Where do you think was the first moment in Vikram where we had a feeling this could be a bigger universe, like this, like Kaidi Connect? Where do you think that happened for the first time?
Actually, நான் வந்து கொஞ்சம் அது வந்து like I got spoiled about that. Not spoiled, but மூவிக்கு முன்னாடியே லோகேஷ் ட்வீட் போட்டார்ல, so please visit the world of Kaidi. ஆமா, so அத அப்பவே பெருசா ஏதோ சமைச்சிருக்காரு போல அப்படின்ற மாதிரி நான் வந்து உட்காந்துட்டேன். சரி, ஓகே, கைதி ரிவாட்ச் மட்டும் தான் விக்ரம் போனேன்.
Like inside the movie,
before he dropped that letter thing, I saw a lot of these stupid decoding channels and all. They were saying, say look at the bag that Kalidas is carrying. It has the same Scorpion logo and all. And it was like, it's a stretch or something, but if it happens, it'll be cool.
Yeah, you leave that aside, but within the film, it's, I think, when they show the series of murders, one of the corrupt police guy from Kaidi also is the one who's dead. I forget his name, Vinod Raja, Arogya Raj or something like that.
Yeah. The narcotics officer,
Stephen Raj.
Yeah, who bargains with Arjun Das, he'll be killed after his sentence in jail. And jail and he'll be coming out, and just after that he'll be killed.
That is the moment you realize that it is part of a bigger universe. But to be fair, I think we all kind of knew it well in advance because of that tweet and his letter.
We knew it, but we look for like frames in the movie.
The definitive moment படத்துல பாத்தீங்கன்னா like ட்ரிச்சில drug bust பத்தி பேசுவாங்க, and I was like, இது அந்த drug bust. அதுக்கப்புறம் the very next shot it's like it's the one and the same drug bust அப்படின்ற மாதிரி. And like such a hype moment, I still remember. Goosebumps.
For me, the reveal was basically basically, I mean, you're telling me that Stephen Raj murder was it, but honestly, first time when I'm watching Vikram, like when the movie is so loud and everything is happening, it is hard to. I found it hard to figure it out there. But for me, when they showed Narain for the first time,
Yeah.
after they captured,
That basically confirmed it.
that
Yeah.
is where it.
Vijay
Yeah,
was
that basically
genuinely surprised how large a role Naren had in this film. I didn't expect that. I mean, நான்
Yeah,
நினைச்சேன்
yeah.
ஓகே சரி யூனிவர்ஸ்னா வந்து கடைசியில கேமியோல யாராவது வருவாங்கன்னு.
And
But
it
Naren had a
and it
pretty
felt like
sizable role.
bro, and it felt like a natural character progression from him, like compared to Kaidi.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't
Yeah.
just a fan service moment.
it also helped
Bro,
his story basically tells us why Amar becomes a part of the team.
the Black
Exactly.
Squad. But I still remember that dialogue. Like, have you ever experienced the death of a loved one and Mari? Olam, Marna Olam Keko. உன் கால் உன் பேச்ச கேட்காம தடுமாறு and that setup and payoff with Fahad Faasil is just fucking gold tier,
that was
bro.
amazing.
Sorry, கெட்ட வார்த்தை பேசிட்டேன், but still நிஜமா அதான், it was such an amazing bit of writing.
மார்ட்டின் தாத்தா மீமிங் இன்சர்ட் பண்ணலாம்.
Okay, so that's what we thought Vikram did, right? And it's still talked about after 3 years. Just those few points that we mentioned. To get to Vikram and why Kamal's or how or what Kamal's comeback looks like post Vishwarupam, we'll kind of look at his recent journey, kind of fraying into action a bit more. What do you guys think his recent journey looked like, and what did you guys get out of it?
See, I think நீங்க பேசுற போச்சு ஹரி, I just pulled out his filmography and I was just rushing through it, right? You can clearly see that let's put Vishwarupam as our starting point, right? Vishwarupathukku appuram, if I list out the films that he's done, I'm not counting cameos and other bits, okay? So Uttamavilan, Papanasam, Thoongavanam, Vishwarupam 2, Vikram, Kalki, Indian 2, Thug Life இப்போ, right? இதுல வந்து barring Uttamavilan and Papanasam, every other film is an action movie, right? I think in a way it's a good well, ஒரு பாசிட்டிவும் இருக்கு, ஒரு நெகட்டிவும் இருக்கு. பாசிட்டிவ் என்னன்னா வந்து he has brought himself back into that commercial space which he had kind of vacated for good 20-25 years, from the point of Nayagan and Pushpak all the way up to Vishwarupam, in a meaningful way. Yes, he was doing comedies and so on, but in the sort of action heavy roles when he kind of didn't touch it too much. But having him come back to this genre is actually very good, because he's not going to do a mindless action film. All of these films, even Vishwarupam 2, for all its flaws, is not some random fan service film or made up of just random mass moments. There is a certain plot, nalla plot adu vera vishayam, but it starts off with a certain plot and there is a certain direction and there is a certain thinking behind it when Kamal does it. The one exception to what I'm saying is, of course, Indian too, but we don't acknowledge that exists. So we'll keep that aside. So in a way, it's good to see Kamal stepping into that action zone, which until recently was owned more by Rajni, Vijay, and Ajit, and him leaving his stamp on it, with Vikram being the zenith of that so far, and hopefully Thug Life also follows quite close, if not betters it. The bad thing, though, the negative, in my opinion, is it's very evident that, at least to me, he just wants to keep doing this for the rest of his life, as long as he's going to keep acting. Our other future projects, you will see இது நம்ம Indian 3 வருமா, we don't know, but let's assume that it does. We have the Unbeliever movie, and we know for a fact there is a Kalki 2 for sure. So there are 3 films that that are heavily action oriented. Kalki, of course, is a bit different, but again, it's not what you would associate Kamal with under normal circumstances. Now, Kamal, you would talk about his strong drama films, right? The sort of the human stories, the Nayagans and Mahanadis of the world. I think he's kind of decided not to stay on in that space. I kind of also get it, because ultimately let's face it, he's towards the end of his career in some ways. And also, I think he really, really needs the money to keep his sort of both RKFI running, as well as his political party running. And I think he's choosing the slightly safer route, but at the same time trying to embellish it with whatever he can. Dad bro, நீங்க சொல்லுங்க, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take some points that you said. Like, it is very true that Kamal Hassan wouldn't do a masala movie, a mindless action masala movie, just cause he needs money. He does need money at this point, but he loves cinema so much that he would not just do crappy movies just because they're gonna generate money. I hope I'm very true with that statement, because he loves cinema. He loves cinema. He breathes it, and he wants it to be in a good place. I think he cares about the legacy that he leaves behind, about every movie he's a part of. I don't know how Indian to happen, but he thinks about that a lot. So even though he's gonna try to foray into a space where it's a money generating business, he's still gonna be very careful with it, and try to hit like the benchmark of what is necessary for a good action masala movie. So I'm I kind of have the trust in Kamal Hassan, especially after the history of 40, 50 years, 60 years that he has with Kollywood, right? So அந்த நம்பிக்கை இருக்கு. So I'm pretty optimistic about the projects which are gonna come in the future. The thing is, like, when Kamal Hassan has to be in an action movie, when he's gonna like kick someone or hit someone, he needs a strong reason for why he is gonna do that. Like Vikram had that strong reason, Vishwarabam had that strong reason. I'm sure it, even in Thug Life and the future projects, he will have a very good reason why he is getting into action. Not as Kamal Hassan, but as a character inside the movie, there will be a very good reason, and that I think that will be enough to make the movie and an enthralling experience, because at the end of the day, the reasons are what makes stories strong. And with Kamal Hassan, I always feel the movies bring a good enough reason. So I'm very optimistic and excited for the future of Kamal Hassan into mainstream Kollywood.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I mean, post Vishwaruvam, I think he took this really thoughtful route, and maybe you could even say that's because of his break or hiatus, whatever. But I like the route he's taking with these kind of ground. I mean, he's always taken this route, but fraying more into the action route where the narrative is also equally more important. I think that's honestly the best thing he is doing. I mean, for his age right now and the legacy that he's built up. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm just equally excited for Thug Life. I heard the Unbari Voda project is like some John Wick type action, heavy action. I mean, even though we haven't seen their work, they're great action directors and choreographers. So I'm only hyped for that project. Kalki, I was surprised he even did something like Kalki, because we've never seen something on this type of level from him. But I'm just excited that he's going to have such a big role in Kalki too, and just the experimentation from this guy that he's doing right now is just amazing.
I think
So yeah.
just touching on Kalki a bit, Hari. So for me, like what you rightly
Mm,
said, like see when it was announced a lot of fanfare and it caught all of us by surprise. இது பிரபாஸ்
ஆமா
படத்துல கமல் வில்லனா அது it
ஆமா
didn't make sense at all, right? And
ஆமா
also he's barely there in this movie, but man, those two scenes that he's there and he owns it. Like
yeah
you can feel his
ஆமா
presence. I really
ஆமா
liked what they did with Kamal. They didn't overexpose him. They made him a
mm,
legitimate threat, and he was a pretty strong presence. And to see
yeah
him be like the main focus from a villain standpoint in the sequel, right? I'm actually most
uh,
excited for that because I think there's a wealth
yeah
of possibility you can get out of someone like Kamal, especially because he's committed to, going all out. You want him to be like, commit to like crazy prosthetics or whatever, he'll do it.
mm,
He will totally do it. He did it in this film and he will totally do it in the sequel as well. Right? Ask
ஆமா
him to like really go all out in his villainy and go with all histrionics. When was the last time we saw Kamal playing outright villain? I can't remember. ரொம்ப தேடினாதான்
yeah
கிடைக்கும் அந்த no, you
ஆமா
can't even say Michael from MMK. Yeah, that's more of a comedy. But
yeah yeah
I'm
yeah
really
true
scratching my head. So for me,
ஆமா
I'm really excited for Kalki 2 out of all these films. Unbelievable, like you said, John Wick style, நல்லா இருக்கும்.
Amma.
But again, considering his age, they'll have to use a lot of gimmickry or a lot of guns and so on. So I'm not very convinced that
True.
what that Keanu could do in particularly the older John Wick films. I think by the time they went
Amma.
to John Wick for Adile Vande, they started cheating quite a bit. To be very fair, given his age as well, and Keanu is like probably very very fit for a 60-year-old guy. But let's see. Yeah, JK, your thoughts, Kamal and his action avatar.
So to add upon what you guys already brilliantly, explained, when Siege Bro was reading out the recent filmography of Kamal, I got reminded of that, tried and tested statement that basically says you have to keep evolving or the game will evolve around you. Like there's no two ways about living life, is there? So it's been a very interesting, paradigm for both Rajini and Kamal, I'd say, for different reasons. Rajini only recently has found the need to, actually evolve and try something different, be it like with something like a Veteran, because people are starting to notice. I mean, we're all so used to thinking our heroes are infallible and they're going to be in the movie still, we at least, move on from the world. But, when, things start to change, you got to change how you do things. La. So I think Kamal, like, as adaptable as ever, he's been mindful of okay the shifting winds and the industry and is trying to was trying to find out where he fits in because see he's an institution all by himself, right? So when you have the kind of acting range and diversity in roles that he has, he can basically do anything. But the tricky part about that is how do you market your something like that, right? Like how do you market yourself as a star to an entirely new generation that is basically doesn't know, like has have a first-hand knowledge of, okay, this is what the legend Kamal Haasan is that we grew up with. So that's what I see it as from a meta perspective. Like if you take like a Tungavanam or okay, he tried a remake with Papanasam that did very well. I believe he tried the sequel thing with Indian 2, which panned out the way it panned out, and then that's the rest is history. But yeah, I all said and done, I think we can all agree that it's had a bunch of interesting choices, and especially with Kalki, because like, yeah, when they announced the casting that okay, Kamal Haasan is doing this Supreme Yaskin character, I was like, wow, okay, that was not on my bingo card for Kamal Haasan either, but like that, Kamal, he's always open to surprise the audiences with what he can do, and I'm super hyped for how his character is gonna pan out in Kalki too, because the movie literally ends with him, right? Like, getting his big power surge and all that. The very first frame I saw, okay, the Supreme Yaskin character on screen, I got reminded of Supreme Leader Snoke from the future movies, movie 7. So it seems like the character was modeled off him a little bit. And that character was also played like a very capable person who's often known for his role in mocap, like Andy Serkis. Like he played Caesar in the Planet of the Apes saga. He's convincing even with CGI and mocap. And to see Kamal in an avatar like that, so expressive, so evocative, even with a ton of prosthetic on, I was like, wow, this man really is like cinema in living, breathing form and Ramari. And that's why we go to see Kamal. Like we go to see, to more than to have a cinematic experience, you go to cherish this person who basically is an institution in and of himself. So yeah, I'm think more than anything, Kamal, for the meta reasons that you guys mentioned, also the okay political party, he has to keep RKFI afloat also. But other than that, I think him, leaning towards action is just him trying to adjust to the rising tide of the industry as it is right now. Because like in a way, அதை தொடக்கி வச்சதே அவர்தான். Like I mean, around the time KGF and Vikram came out like 3 years ago, that was kind of like a definitive push towards okay, this is what audiences want to see, at least in Tamil, Telugu, and like say, I mean, not Malayalam industry, but like this is the way the wind seems to be blowing. Let's make the most of it while we can. And Ramari, yeah. And about the Unbelievable project, I'm kind of yeah. The creative thing is since they say it's going to be very John Wick inspired and all that, and obviously the question is, can Kamal do convincing action? He did it well in Indian tone Vikramla. He did it very well in Vikram, but I think more of what makes the John Wick movies so impactful and iconic is, yeah, the action set pieces are great. The action itself is great, but they're very inventive. Like இப்போ ஒரு பென்சிலை கூட வெப்பனா யூஸ் பண்ணலாம். Then in one, I think in chapter 3 or something, they literally use throwing knives because like, okay, they're in such a gallery, they break the glass, over a knife எடுத்து வீசி இது பண்ணும். You just never know. Like it just pushes the boundaries of how you think of a typical action scene. So I think that's what Anbari were are cooking up with him because like Siege Bro very aptly said, Andavar will do it all. Like he has no compunctions about throwing everything and the kitchen sink in his acting wheelhouse to give a power pack performance. So Ama, like I mean, he'll always amaze you. Like it's just different ways on whether the audience is ready. He's always ahead of his time. இப்போ நம்ம இன்னொரு 20 year ஒரு 10 இயர்ஸ்க்கு அப்புறம் பார்த்தனாலுமே டே இந்த படம் கொண்டாடலடா. Not you, Indian 2. We're going to forget you ever happened. But yeah, even the rest of his works, maybe the ones இப்போ உத்தம வில்லனுக்கு அப்படிதான் நிறைய பேர் பேசிப்பாங்க. There were elements of that movie that we didn't celebrate as much. Now, okay, கொஞ்சம் இப்படிதான் இதுதான் அந்த குறியீடு அது இதுன்னு டீகோடிங்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருப்பாங்க. பட் யா, ஐ எம் எக்ஸைட்டட். I am definitely sure it's gonna be, a series of winners. His lineup is absolutely packed. So yeah, let's wait and watch every day.
Bro, sorry, just a slight digression before we bring Jax into the conversation. நீங்க உத்தம வில்லன் சொன்னீங்கல்ல that we didn't celebrate it. I distinctly remember watching it when it came out back in the day, 2011 நினைக்கிறேன்.
2015,
In Bangalore.
2015, bro.
2015,
ஆமா.
thank you. So I watched it in a matinee show in Bangalore. Okay, it was pretty empty. As the theater was empty. And the startingல வந்து அந்த லவ்வா சாங் ஆரம்பிக்கிறதுல.
Yeah.
And people were like were like laughing and commenting in the voice and I was like, dude, you're missing the
You're
whole
missing the
bloody
point. Yeah.
You're missing the
This
point.
is a parody.
Exactly. So adile vandila I was like, fuck man, this is just too much.
That would have killed now. After the YouTube boom. Sure. The problem is it came before the YouTube boom when satire was not so common. So like இப்போ வந்திருந்தா kid would have killed for sure.
Sorry, Jax. A bit of a digression. சொல்லுங்க. Your expectations
Yeah,
from
Jax.
My initial point was even Vishwarupam was not exactly an out and out action oriented film. என்ன கேட்டா அது வந்து நரேட்டிவ்ல ஆக்ஷன் வரக்கூடிய ஃபிலிம் தான் அது. ஏன்னா வந்து it totally delves into all this undercover things and how everything how all this Afghanistan past connects with the things that are happening in the present. So adila some situations birth into action and adula dhaan varume thavara it wasn't it wasn't a very action oriented film. It was narrative la varadhu. And the point I'm trying to make is after that maybe shadow directed Tunganam, I guess, but in every other film he was a director's hero. ஒரு டேரக்டரோட ஆக்டரா தான் வந்து கமல் பண்ணதை தவிர he didn't try to involve himself into the narration or anything. That's what I found looking into Papanasam or just we've talked about Vikram, that he completely surrendered himself. Maybe even Indian too. I'm not trying to ignore it. And yeah, even from yeah, even probably Thug Life, I think he didn't involve himself too much. Maybe padam paathadan theriyum. Yeah, he just like Vetiyar Vilayadu, as we spoke before, he's and also links his the other point about his adaptability. He's trying to adapt to being the director's actor as well as adapting to the current meta as well. Yeah, and I don't know, like you guys had already dissected every single film that I wanted to talk, but
what do you think about the
quick side note?
Quick,
like,
about the future films. India, I don't know about Indian 3. I'm not gonna talk about it, obviously. About the Unbeliever, yeah, it's exciting to see a John Wick type of film. some gimmicks they have to pull off, but even in Vikram they pulled it off, right? When they are signing someone like probably 70 something year old man, they'll have to work around it, obviously. So in the end they'll have something in mind, because even in Vikram I think அன்பேரு தான் இல்லையா?
ஆமா
Yeah, stunts were by them.
ஆமா
Yeah, so
Stunts
like
அவங்க.
stunts அவங்க தான் இல்லையா? So they brilliantly handled it. For example, this fight that happens in the house, அந்த pistol தீந்து போன அப்புறமா
Thematic
he'll
fight.
go to the
ஆமா
grandson's room and அப்போ ஒரு fight வரும் and he has to do
Keep
everything.
everyone silent. ஆமா.
Yes, exactly. So அதுக்கு வந்து மெனக்கெட்டு he picks all this everyday things that are in the house and forms the fight around it, and
Bro,
it works because any age, even in that age you can believe it happens. He just
even
picks
the
up and
Argentina fight, bro, brilliantly good.
yeah,
அந்த
exactly.
படத்துல.
Exactly.
So
ஆமா.
it just how you set things up that matters, and not exactly the fight itself என்ன கேட்டா. So yeah, and even this yeah, அந்த ஒரு டனல் மாதிரி இருக்கும் and he'll அந்த ட்ரம் எல்லாம் எடுத்துட்டு he'll pick the guns, ஒவ்வொரு கன்னை எடுத்து சுடுறது.
ஆமா சந்தான பாரதி.
அந்த yeah, and it's connect to the first teaser we got, title teaser. ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு கனெக்ட் இருக்கும். So அந்த மாதிரி விஷயம்லாம் they did. So I think they'll pull off something. I only hope that it isn't totally out and out action, like ஒரு எமோஷனே இல்லாம வெறுமன சண்டை மட்டும் இல்லாம இருந்தா I think I would love it. And for Kalki it's complicated because I didn't feel good about Kalki when I watched it, because I had so much expectations on it, and yeah, it was pretty subpar for me. But I hope by Kalki 2 they may do better things, and yeah, of course Kamal has a bigger role in that, so maybe that'll work for me. But still, that the Kalki world was masterfully done. Yeah, it was, the world building was really good, but எனக்கு அந்த என்ன சொல்றது, ஸ்கிரீன் பிளே தான் எனக்கு வந்து ரொம்ப ப்ராப்ளமா இருந்தது படத்துல.
ஆமா. What I regret less, it's in between all this action, he's kind of we as an audience, we kind of miss out on stuff like say for example the Sabash Naidu spin-off or
exactly,
or
yeah,
just
நான் பாக்குறப்போ
slice of life stuff like that.
I know
It's like, okay, action is good, but I want to see more Michael Madan Kamaraj and stuff from him, or
exactly,
I mean,
or a Tenali from him.
Yeah, you guys are hitting the nail. The thing is, action movies can be made by few other people, but comedies like Panjatantram and stuff, it comes out of Kamal.
Yeah, comedy and even drama in general.
And
I think
we
that
all love to
like
laugh, right?
crazy moments. Like I don't think anyone would be able to put off as perfectly as what he was doing.
And Deep, I'm deeply sad for Crazy Mohan's demise. I would love to see like one last film.
One other movie with them. I think the way ahead is that we fund RKFI a bit more.
And also Jax on our point on I think it was also iterated on the stage during the audio launch. Thug Life audio launch, Sandana Bharati said exactly the same thing, that people want more comedy movies out of him.
So guys, that was our thoughts on Thug Life and Kamal's career decisions fraying into the action genre a bit more as a whole. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below, and leave you with one last question. If you can find 4 better actors than Kamal, then let us know as well in the comments. But that was us for today on episode number 23. இன்னொரு எபிசோட்ல சந்திக்கலாம். But for now, goodbye. Thank you, and thank you for tuning in.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
See you
Catch you in the next
everyone.
one.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you.